The Graphic Guide to the Aménagement en Cours de Niveau, ACN. Heavy rainfall is the cause of excessive soil erosion in farm fields in Africa. The installation of the Aménagement en Cours de Niveau, ACN, allows for an effective management of excessive rainfall. Management of rainfall can substantially increase plant biomass growth and crop yields. The Graphic Guide to ACN was designed to promote the diffusion of ACN technology in the rural communities of West Africa. The water-saving technology is urgently needed. The goal of ACN is to allow the diffusion of ACN technology among the various languages through West Africa. The permanent ridge, ado, shown on the top image, constitutes the principal element of the ACN. Once installed, it becomes the structure along which farmers follow to build annual ridges. The ACN system, once completed, allows retention of rainwater and a controlled evacuation of excess water out of farmers' fields. This results in a noticeable increase in yields of crops such as sorghum, millet, groundnut, and cotton. The top photograph shows that a field without ACN can be the object of severe erosion. The clear zone represents an eroded section of the soil, which indicates that the fertile part of the soil has been carried away by rainwaters. However, once the ACN is installed, bottom photo, the same area of the field shows a dark natural coloring, an indication of good fertility levels. When necessary, diversion canals to evacuate excess water out of the field may be installed. The canals are essential structures to avert potential flooding of the farmland following heavy rains. Various types of plants may be planted in the diversion canals to attenuate the erosive forces of water flow. The process of the installation of the ACN in a field starts with a survey of the land and a diagnosis of water flow problems in the field. This is jointly carried out by the ACN technician and the farmer for the purpose of developing a general plan of water management. First, prior to going to the farm, a meeting among farmers and technicians is held in the village to go over general production problems, followed by a walk over the entire field of the farmers to visualize the problems discussed during the meeting. Then, the technician, with his auto level, takes 2 initial transects at a right angle to locate the general elevation, the highest spot, region of extreme water flow, areas of erosions, and stagnations of rainwater in the field. The findings are used to develop the water management plan, especially the highest spot is the beginning location of the first ado. The technical phase of the installation of the ACN takes place once the diagnostic phase has been completed. Its first step is referred to as the piquetage and is characterized by the staking of the locations of the permanent ridges, ado, on contour lines established by the ACN technician using a level. The process always starts with the highest elevation of the field toward the lower elevation of the field. On this graphic, the small numbers indicate the high elevation on the field, whereas the large numbers indicate the lower elevations of the field. This graphic shows how the staking is done in the field. The process starts at the highest elevation of the field. Stakes are then placed at 10-meter intervals along each contour line, which represents points of the same elevation in the field, measured by the ACN technician using a level. When complete, the farmland is covered by a series of contour lines that will be the location of the permanent ridges referred to as ados. It is important to notice that high numbers are lower points on the field, while lower numbers are higher points on the field. This illustration clearly shows the process of the construction of the ados once the staking has been completed. Notice that the construction of the ado is done by the farmer using an ox-drawn plow or hose if plows are not available. It must always be started from the highest elevation of the field, for example, from 1.6, number 1, figure 1 on this illustration, to 1.7, 1.95, 2.0, until 2.70 meters. 2.70 meters being the lowest elevation on the field. Usually, 5 to 6 passes by the plow are sufficient for the initial ridges. The size of the ado can be increased with a hoe if necessary. A good ado must be at least 30 centimeters to 50 centimeters in height and a meter wide to be effective. The ado can be reinforced by plants of all species, herbaceous, fodder, and even trees. The reinforcement helps strengthen the ado and extends its usefulness. Once the construction of the ados is completed, the annual ridges between the ados can be constructed as shown in this illustration, depending on cropping systems. The annual ridges are destroyed annually after harvests and are rebuilt each year at the beginning of the rainy season, in contrast to the ados, which are permanent. Notice that the construction of the annual ridges must start from the lower part of the field and from the section of the ados located at the lower point of the field towards the ado located at the high elevation as schematized. This method of construction produces the most effective structure for the capture of rainwater. The photograph in the bottom section shows a variation of the use of the ACN in Senegal, an adaptation of the practice of Mali. In Mali, top photograph, annual ridges are built between the ados, whereas in Senegal, bottom photo, the crops are planted between the ados without the need for annual ridges. The positive crop yield response obtained in Senegal shows that the ACN function perfectly in cropping systems without annual ridges. Other types of adaptation of the ACN technology in Cameroon and in the Gambia have also given satisfactory crop responses. In addition to yield increase, farmers and village residents report additional benefits due to the use of ACN technology. For example, more water in drinking water wells than earlier due to increased infiltrations of rainwater. This increase in groundwater replenishment has enabled off-season irrigation of women's home gardens and spontaneous regeneration of useful trees. This generates a growth in farmers' earned incomes, thus contributing to the fight against poverty. This photo was taken in a village where nearly 80% of the farmers can now practice off-season irrigation of home gardens 14 years after the installation of the ACN.